Hey, welcome back to the Call to Watch series. In our last video, we defined what a spiritual watchman is. Today, we're talking about something a little more personal. How do you know if you are actually called to watch? In that last video, I shared with you all that a watchman sees, discerns, prays, and warns out of obedience, not from fear, right? But as a believer, I feel like there are certain things that we all do. Like we all can be called to pray, but not everyone carries the assignment of a watchman. So here are three signs you may be called to watch. Number one, you feel prompted to pray before things happen. You can sense things in the spirit, you know, and feel burdened to intercede. Sometimes I felt this way. It could have come from a dream. Sometimes during the day you might have had a download and you just started thinking about a situation or a person, and you feel burdened in your spirit to pray about that thing. So just that's just an example. But Amos 3:7 says, surely the Lord God will do nothing without revealing his secrets to his servants and prophets. So sometimes God is the one who's giving you those those feelings that come back up. I know I've had conversations sometimes on the phone with a friend or a relative, and later on I start to think about something in that conversation. It just stands out and it just plays in my mind, and then I'm praying. I begin to pray, Lord, is this something that you want me to pray about? Is this something that, is now my assignment? Just an example of that. And when a watchman begins to sense things in the spirit, we don't always know. Sometimes you don't always know like every detail, but you feel the need to pray. So that's why I said I began to pray and ask God, is this an assignment? Is this something you want me to do? Because you feel that sense and you don't always know why. So I think it's always good to begin to ask God for a little bit of instruction. And even when you have questions about the situation, I always think that that's a good starting point, even when you begin to pray and intercede. So number two, you can also discern atmospheres quickly. You can walk into a room and feel a shift. You can pick up on things others don't. They just overlook. Like I've noticed sometimes that I can go into, I've gone to an event and I can tell that people start moving differently around me. I can feel a shift in that room. And I also can feel sometimes energy, like you can feel happy energy. And sometimes I've gone into spaces where I felt like really heavy energy, and I can tell that there was something bad that might have happened in that space, or maybe that there was some conversation that was going on that was really serious or really heavy. So in other words, you pick up on things that others normalize. Number three, you value silence and listening. Habakkuk 2:1 says, I will stand upon my post and observe and station myself on the tower or fortress, and I will watch. You don't need, a lot of noise to feel spiritual. You're comfortable waiting for clarity. You're comfortable waiting quietly in the background for God to give you insight in a download. And like I said, I sometimes I spend a lot of time alone. And when God begins to download, I start to ask him questions. Okay, God, is this my assignment? God, why am I thinking about this? You it's okay to ask him questions, because if it is your assignment, he's going to give you those answers. Number four, you feel responsible for guarding. And this is not in a being bossy or being controlling, but guarding. And I feel like we all kind of have a sense of this. You feel protective over your family, over your home, over your church, even your circle of friends. And that, to me, I feel like it's because you feel, as a watchman, you feel accountable in the spirit. A lot of times we've already been praying and interceding as a norm for your family, for your friends, for your church, for people on your jobs, for your circle. That's a normal thing to do because those are people who are in your lives and you want nothing but the best for them. Okay. So, number 5, you know what it feels like to be misunderstood. And a watchman is one of those people who is misunderstood for being like very serious or overly serious. Sometimes they're one of those people who you might say, oh, they just doing the most. Oh, they just too deep sometimes, they don't follow the trends. A watchman is not a person who cares about what's trending, what everyone else is doing. They're not afraid to ask deeper questions. Like I said, um, I've used, for example, already a number of times, how you should pray. And then as soon as you feel that burden, ask God those questions because you need to know. You don't do any of these things out of pride, but out of awareness because it's just your norm. Being spiritual, being spiritually, altered is not out of anxiety. It's not paranoia. It's not you even being suspicious, but a watchman operates from peace, not panic. So they want to know, is this my assignment? Why am I thinking of this? So they can begin to pray because we want peace. We want peace not just for us, but for those that we're assigned to. We want to pray for those people in those situations because we want things to be the way that they're supposed to be. And we want to intercede before anything else can happen in that situation. We want the good outcome. So we want peace. So if you see yourself in some of these signs, don't rush to label yourself. Like I've said already repeatedly, pray about it. Pray about everything first and ask God to confirm, is this your assignment? And if I spoke to you, let me know in the comments. And if you want more teachings like this as we grow deeper in the word together, make sure you're subscribed because over here we are building, we're maturing, and we're answering the call together. Until the next time, stay prayerful, stay discerning, and stay on the wall.